Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and I'm going to start this one off with a spoiler warning. I'm going to be going over some of the results from the Portland regionals, and if you haven't watched it yet, there was actually a lot of good Pokemon played. I don't watch all of them, but I watched this one because it's the one that's closest to me, like geographically, even though I didn't go. And there was a lot of really good Pokemon played. I don't know if there maybe was like a couple matches that were was kind of boring to watch on the stream, but for the most part, they were all very good sets of Pokemon. If I, with the benefit of hindsight, I would definitely go back and react to it. But honestly, I feel like in recent times, the casting and the commentary has gotten significantly better. I feel like I remember at the start of Scarlet and Violet and into the second year, there was some very questionable commentary sometimes. But I think it's a lot better now, to be quite honest. So spoiler alert, I will be going over the results and which teams did well. So if you want to watch some Pokemon and not get spoiled, then don't watch this video, just come back to it later. So to start off with, we're going to go over the day one results. So overall, what people brought to the tournament. Incineroar sitting at the top, it's not surprising whatsoever. Okay, I'm just going to go over what is a little bit surprising. Grimmsnarl at 25% Grimmsnarl is proving that it's one of those Pokemon, just like Incineroar, that is very, very good in restricted formats because it offers so much support. I think that Grimmsnarl and also Grimmsnarl has a lot of new moves. Not necessarily new moves, but yeah, new moves. I think it got access to several new moves, all of which are very, very good in Scarlet and Violet. The standard set is, well, it's just Light Screen Reflect, Spirit Break, +1. However, there's a lot of moves it can run as a +1, and sometimes it'll drop other moves in order to do that as well. It gets access to Fake Out, it gets Parting Shot. There's a Parting Shot Grimmsnarl who did very well in this tournament. I don't remember where he placed, but it was I believe it was top 8. So Grimmsnarl is proving that it's a top tier support Pokemon on basically any team. It can go basically on any team. Not surprised at all to see Iron Hands Miraidon was by far the most brought restricted Pokemon. So Iron Hands goes very well on Miraidon teams. And I'm a little bit surprised to see Ursaluna down at 14%. Honestly, prior to this tournament, I kind of thought it was going to have a very, very high usage because it felt like the strongest attacking Pokemon really in the game that was not a restricted. But I think, as we'll see later in the tournament, Trick Room definitely underperformed. Like, Lunala had very strong results going into the tournament, and it only had one top 8, and below that there was very little Lunala usage. So there was a lot of usage day 1, but day 2 it was very little. I think a lot of people were very, very prepared for Lunala and had built some stuff into their team to prepare for it. And I'm also surprised to see Iron Bolt not Iron Bolt, Raging Bolt this low, because it also feels like probably the strongest special attacker that's not restricted. And I know like Chiyu exists too, but Raging Bolt is very, very good. Because Raging Bolt is so flexible, it can, especially with the fact that it has access to its unique priority move, which is just very, very strong, compared to Chiyu, and Chiyu really just feels like it has to be running a Choice Scarf or a Focus Sash, which are both, well, first of all, you want you want Focus Sash on other Pokemon most of the time. It's a lot of teams would like to have multiple Focus Sashes, and Choice Scarf is also just very one-dimensional, especially in a format where, going into it, I thought Zamazenta was definitely like the the biggest restricted Pokemon. Well, not the biggest one, but like one of the biggest. And for a fire type Pokemon that really wants to just spam spread moves, uh, and it has and has Choice Scarf. Like I don't know if there's a better counter to Shiyu than Zamazenta. I mean, I know there is, but it kind of feels like one of the best. So overall, nothing too surprising. Now let's go to talk about the top 4 restricted pairs. Also, later in the video, I'm going to start going over. This is the last, at least the last North American regional prior to NAIC. I think there's a couple more, or 1 or 2 more, around the world, however. But I think this tournament, it's going to definitely be the biggest tournament up until NAIC. And just because of that, it's going to dictate a lot about how good stuff is, or like what is being played there. So if you're going, so first of all, if you're going NIIC, I think this is definitely an important tournament to analyze. And if you're just playing on ladder and want to like hit rank 1 or whatever you're trying to do, then, or maybe not even just rank 1, maybe just masters, then analyzing this is going to be important because you're going to see a lot of these teams on the ladder and also on Showdown, but mostly, I mean, people don't care that much about Showdown ranking, to be quite honest. Anyway, so coming in, obviously the big dog, more than double everything else. So I guess the big dog is Zamazenta, but the biggest restricted pair, haha, funny joke, is Ice Rider Miraidon, and spoilers, Ice Rider Miraidon seriously underperformed this tournament. Like seriously underperformed, considering that 1/5 of all teams at the tournament were this. It did not do well whatsoever. Same with Miraidon Lunala. It also seriously underperformed, even though it's only 8%. It's still way, way underperformed. So there's a consistent theme with Miraidon really underperforming. And while I think Miraidon is definitely strong, it's also very one-dimensional. There was a one set where people were using where someone was using a parabolic charge Miraidon, and it's like, okay, cool, you do electric damage, and that's kind of every Miraidon. It just does electric damage. So having Pokemon that can hit for super effective and also, well, just ground types in general are very solid. Groudon usage was very low for this tournament. However, it spiked like Groudon way overperformed. Even though it didn't have a single top 8, it still overperformed what you expected it to do because it was like barely used at all. And I think a large part of that is because it's probably the best restricted into Miraidon. But I'm not sure how much you should read into that. Anyway. So top 8 restricted Pokemon, nothing surprising. Like I said, like Miraidon is clearly the most used. The horses are exactly the same percentage, which I think is kind of funny. But the horses are both extremely good. Then you have like Lunala, who way underperformed. Koraidon, who I would say, I don't know if it either overperformed or performed about what it was expected to. Probably about what it was expected to. Zamazenta, who I think probably performed about how it was expected to. Kyogre, who, spoiler alert, way overperformed, which was honestly really shocking to me because in a tournament where you have where like the most used Pokemon by far is Miraidon, you would not expect Kyogre, Kyogre hates Miraidon, so I was really surprising to see Kyogre do as well as it did. And I think a large part of this is that I think were underestimating Kyogre. I never built a Kyogre regulation G team, just because I kind of felt like this way with Lunala and Kyogre, like they're usable, but they're really not that strong because what they offer is either very one-dimensional or more supportive. And in Kyogre, it's very one-dimensional. It's water type damage, and that's it. I don't know if it was the winning team I think it was the winning team had a all water attack Kyogre. There was not a single coverage move on it. It was just water, which says a lot about what Kyogre does. It just does water damage. That's literally all it does. And when you only have one restricted, just doing a lot of water damage is like okay, but it's not that good because water is a good typing. But offensively, it's okay, it's like fine. But the fact that with these new restricteds that like with some of these new restricteds, like the Calyrex, it offers a ton of spread damage. So then all of a sudden, you have to deal with two huge spread damages at once, which was part of the reason I thought that Zamazenta was going to way overperform, because just looking at it, Zamazenta is good into Ice Rider. So just for some background, I played through Regulation G. I played basically exclusively Zamazenta. I don't think I ever even actually built a team other than a Zamazenta team, because I just enjoyed playing Zamazenta so much. Uh, Zamazenta into Miraidon feels really bad. Like, I'm just going to say it. I had Terra Grass just because of how bad it felt. It felt really bad. Because basically Zamazenta, if you're, I think Zamazenta is very good in Regulation I as well. If you're going to use it, well, just hear me out. Okay, so the thing about Zamazenta is that it feels like it has matchups that it wins kind of outright, or it doesn't have really matchups that it wins outright, but has matchups it's very good in, and then also matchups it's very bad in. Unlike such as Ice Rider feels like it's kind of good in everything. The Zamazenta doesn't really feel that way. The thing is, so in mirror matchups, because you hit yourself are super effective, it is super important to be faster than other Zamazenta. Sometimes it feels like if you have the slower Zamazenta, you're basically useless. Like, it's not a loss. However, you can't put too much speed into it, because if you like max speed it, then you're worse in every other matchup because you're slower than. Because, like, for example, Zamazenta, you're slower than Miraidon, Koraidon, and Shadow Rider. Always. You're never going to be ever outspeed them. And you're always faster than Ice Rider, or you should always be faster also than, than Kyogre and Terapagos and Lunala. So it feels really bad to put any speed in your Zamazenta, because against everything but Zamazenta, it doesn't feel very important. But against Zamazenta, it feels like an auto loss if you're slower. So I had quite a bit of speed in my Zamazenta because there's a lot of Zamazenta going around in Regulation G. But I'm not sure how people trained their Zamazenta this tournament, because once again, it's only 15%, and training your Zamazenta exclusively for 15% of the teams you run into feels really, really bad. But you also want defense, because obviously defense is how bulky you are, but it's also how much damage you're doing. So you have a lot of speed. You also want to have probably as much defense as you can. I don't think I had max defense on mine. I know I didn't, but it was a lot of defense. And then you also just want HP, because it's HP. It's good into everything. So almost every Zamazenta you're going to see is going to be super specially frail, because it's special. I don't even, off the top of my head, Pokemon database, Zamazenta. Off the top of my head, I can't tell you what its special defense is. So it's 115, but because oh wait, sorry, this is the wrong one. Ground Shield. So it's 140, but because you're never putting points into it, it doesn't feel nearly this high. And also, honestly, for a restricted, your HP is kind of low. Like 92 is not that good. But so 140, is really high. But you look at these Miraidon and stuff, and Miraidon is just absolutely destroying it. Because you're never putting special defense in this thing. Miraidon is with single target damage just absolutely destroying it. It is probably the worst matchup for Zamazenta, in my opinion. Just in Regulation G for sure. I haven't played a ton of Regulation I, but in Regulation G it was absolutely the worst matchup for Zamazenta, and I don't think it was close. Pretty much every Zamazenta team, the other 5 Pokemon were almost solely dedicated to just beating Miraidon. It was it's that rough. It was that rough. I had Qianpao, which is pretty common, but I also had Landorus Theory and with Choice Scarf just to outspeed this thing, because it was so horrible. Matchup was so bad. So, yeah. I don't actually remember what my original point was, but so if you're playing against Zamazenta, just keep in mind its special defense is way lower than its physical defenses because of how they're trained. So special Pokemon are definitely your best option. And also it helps because Rhydon is a single target, which, I mean, Zamazenta is literally designed to beat spread damage. And when you have this powerful of a single target attack, it just feels really, really bad. And I mean, considering it's special. Anyway, so now we're going into day 2. So these are the top restricteds in day 2. It's still Miraidon and Ice Rider is the top one, but that's not surprising at all because they were the most common in the first day and the percentage dropped, so it underperformed. The percentage rose for Zamazenta. This popped out of absolutely nowhere. It wasn't even, I believe, yeah, it wasn't even on. It wasn't even on this. Anyway, you can see that that the horses are just the strong. I feel it almost feels like you have to have a horse in order to have a competitive uh, regulation I team. And I know that obviously you can build without a horse, but a horse just helps you go a very, very long way. The fact that you have this powerful physical attacker with who can also set its own trick room is just absolutely gigantic. It's super, super good. And the fact that you're just faster than literally everything other than a Regieleki, which is just not good at all, is super, super strong. I also think, okay, so I know that Regieleki has underperformed all of Scarlet and Violet, but I don't think it's that bad. I think a lot of the reason Regieleki was strong was because you had super fast Electroweb, which didn't matter at all in previous regulations where you could just run a fast Pokemon with more bulk, or maybe even a slow Pokemon with Electroweb. But Electroweb that outspeeds Shadow Rider Calyrex should be strong. It 100% is strong. I don't know why people aren't using it, to be honest. You can see how prevalent Shadow Rider is. Three of the top 4 restricted pairings are Shadow Rider. So, without a doubt, it's maybe it. I would say that Ice Rider, in my opinion, is stronger, but it's definitely probably the second most powerful restricted at the moment. So I think Regieleki should be good. I think it should be on teams, and I think that would be a meta read for me going into uh, NAIC is that Regieleki definitely has a place. Not necessarily a counter to Regieleki, but using Regieleki, I think it definitely has a place. Anyway, so Tropico's also overperforming what you would expect. I think your top 8 restricted day 2. They are. You can see Shadow Rider just absolutely spiking out of absolutely nowhere. Look, that difference is ridiculous. Wait, where is it? Aha, okay. So jumping 12% is actually ridiculous for a day 2. That means that it is probably the strongest performing of the entire tournament. And dropping 16% is ridiculous as well for a Miraidon. So Miraidon super underperformed. And Shadow Rider, I wouldn't say overperformed because I think people were already aware of it, but it definitely performed very well. And you can see Lunala literally dropped out. So Lunala dropped over 10 points at least. I don't know how many it actually dropped, but Lunala was not even in the top 8. It was at number 4 on day 1, and it wasn't even in the top 8 on day 2. So Lunala seriously underperformed. Zacian pops out of absolutely nowhere. So, I mean, Zacian outperformed for sure. And Kyogre jumped 10 points. So we're out right now. You can see that the 3 Pokemon that did the best at this tournament, considering usage, I would say, are Shadow Rider, which it did very well. Shadow Rider, Kyogre, and Zacian, quite honestly. Yeah, but so those 3 Pokemon would definitely be on my radar. Top 12. So then, once again, this has not changed that much if you look at it. Incineroar is still the most used. Urshifu still second. Amoonguss dropped, jumping from 7th most used to 3rd, which doesn't seem like crazy. Oh, it's Amoonguss. Of course it's going to be good. But sneak peek at just the overall results. Every single team in top 8 has either an Amoonguss or a Brute on it. I think, honestly, if I think this is the reason that Miraidon underperformed this tournament. And you might say, but how can Amoonguss be under? How can that be? Because Amoonguss can't put Pokemon to sleep when it's on. Amoonguss can't put Pokemon to sleep when Electric Train's up. But it doesn't even really matter, just because the redirection is so strong. Because you're so specially bulky as a Amoonguss. Because you can afford. You don't need your stats and anything else. You can just pump max special defense, max HP, be super especially tanky, and then you just redirect all electric moves into you, which you resist anyway. Earlier in the tournament, I saw a Miraidon Volt Switch do like 15-20% to an Amoonguss. Like that thing would have done 50 to 60% to a Zamazenta, like a restricted. Like so. And if you want to hit the Amoonguss for not resisted, because it also resists Fairy with its poison typing, you have to click Draco Meteor. And clicking Draco Meteor is just never fun for a Miraidon. It feels really bad. There's not a Miraidon who enjoys clicking Draco Meteor. Because you leave yourself exposed, and you're lowering your special attack, and then you have to basically manually switch out to not feel completely useless on the next turn, and it just leaves you so exposed. So, Amoonguss and Brute Bonnet both completely outperforming what you would expect. Scrolling down, it's just Amoonguss, 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 and then Amoonguss, and then it kind of like falls off. So almost every Amoonguss, basically, look like that. That's just crazy to me. Is how strong Amoonguss was. What that tells me is for NAIC, you kind of have to have an Amoonguss counter. I also think Amoonguss did this well because a lot of people have stopped running. Have stopped running safety goggles Incineroar. So Incineroar is still around. Let's see what this one is. I'm not sure what this one is. Okay, this one is safety goggles Terra Bug. That's interesting. But a lot of Incineroar are running Assault Vest to get past Miraidon, like a lot of them are. I'm not. I don't know. I could just click until I found one. Rocky Helmet. You see, like running Rocky Helmet over Rage safety goggles was not something people were doing. See, Rocky Helmet, Covert Cloak. So a lot of Incineroar have stopped running safety goggles, and I think that's part of the reason. Assault Vest, Terra Grass, though, so that definitely helps against it. But because safety goggles usage has gone down so much, not Incineroar, Amoonguss kind of doesn't have anything it can't just spam Spore on. Especially considering there is legitimately not a grass restricted. I don't like the only grass restricted I can even think of is just base form Calyrex, which is utter trash. And I literally can't think of another one. So like just looking at teams, it's like okay, the only Spore immunity you have is Amoonguss. The only Spore immunity you have is Brute Bonnet. The only Spore immunity you have, you have 2 Spore immunities on this team. You have, okay, let's just count. You have 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 0. Actually, he might have a. He doesn't even have it. Okay, 0. Actually, wait, does his? Yeah, literally every single Pokemon on this man's team can get spored. Every single one, which is like is absolutely not something happening for at all. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. Wait, actually 2. So clearly Amoonguss was the correct meta choice to bring into this tournament. I will say I think this is going to spike Amoonguss usage, but I also think it's going to spike safety goggles usage again. So I would say, honestly, heading into NAIC, have something for safety goggles Incineroar, because I think there's going to be a lot of it. Incineroar performed well, but it didn't really perform. Like, it performed well, but in the top 8, there is a single Incineroar in all top 8. So I think safety goggles Incineroar specifically is going to spike. So just having something that can just kind of destroy just do very well into it. Like maybe people start running like coverage moves on their Calyrex Shadow for Incineroar, but I don't think you probably do because most Incineroar aren't. Well, actually, most Incineroar are already knockoff, I think. But yeah, so be prepared for a lot of Amoonguss, but also be prepared for a lot of safety goggles Pokemon. Would I bring Amoonguss to NAIC if I was going? I probably because honestly, Amoonguss is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. It's a fungus among us. But when you have a Pokemon with this much of a breakout performance, and sure, it was popular, but like that's kind of ridiculous. Also, Brute Bonnet absolutely like appearing out of absolutely nowhere. I was not ever. I thought this Pokemon sucked, honestly. But okay, so if you guys didn't know, what people have been doing with Brute Bonnet what people did with Brute Bonnet at this tournament is, well, every single one had Koridon on their team, obviously for Sun. Oh, actually, there might have been a couple on the. Yeah, it was okay. I think every single one had Koridon on their team, and they were all defense booster with photosynthesis, and those things tanked. I saw a couple of them throughout streams tank Calyrex's Glacial Lance, and it was. I was not. I was like, oh, it's super effective. It's going to like probably honestly like do 90%, if not one shot. And these things were doing like 60 maybe. Like it was doing very little. People had to double up this Amoonguss with Glacial Lance plus another stab move in order to actually knock them out. Sorry, the Brute Bonnet in order to actually knock them out. And even then, it looked like a roll. Like these things were crazy bulky on the physical side, and I was not prepared for that because Amoonguss. So basically, I think the way it's working out now is that Amoonguss is basically is just almost always specially bulky, and Brute Bonnet are physically bulky. So you choose which kind of Amoonguss you prefer, and then you just grab whatever that is. Because I think Brute Bonnet gets pretty much all of the same supporting moves, and is a little bit less bulky, and then has actually they get Rage Powder, don't they? Okay, I need to check this. Brute Bonnet. Control F. Yeah, Rage Powder. Okay, so they do get Rage Powder. I thought they did, but I wasn't sure for a second. Yeah, so Spore, Rage Powder, Sucker Punch, Seed Bomb. So 2 stab moves plus just 2 supporting moves. Which is also interesting because I feel like almost every Amoonguss runs Protect. I don't know if there is an Amoonguss that doesn't run Protect. But the fact that Brute Bonnet were all drop almost, I think they were all dropping Protect. Yeah, every single Brute Bonnet in the tournament dropped Protect. Not every, like all of them in top 8. Obviously, I can't say that for certain, but the vast majority dropped Protect. So Amoonguss is definitely something to watch out for, as well as Safety Goggles and Cineroar, because I think it's coming back. And I would not be surprised to see Safety Goggles Urshifu as well next tournament. That was something that ran around for a couple tournaments last year, I want to say, but never really like. And I think it was good, but it never saw a ton of usage. I think it could come back. So if your team is weak to Urshifu, do not just slap an Amoonguss on your team and call it good, because I think there's going to be Safety Goggles Amoonguss, Safety Goggles Urshifu running around. Um, Other surprising things. Ogerpon kind of popping off. Like this is 2 different Pokemon basically, so it's kind of unfair to say that he's a 20% usage, but he kind of is. Uh, his usage is very high. Jianpao, I think almost every Zamazenta team had Jianpao on it. They go so well together. It's kind of crazy. Tornadus once again just showing that Tailwind is very very good. I mean, it always is. Anyway, just looking at the teams that did well, you can see every team except one in the top 8 has a horse. And going down, basically every team all again has a horse. There's a few that don't, but basically every team has a horse. Not a single Miraidon in top 8, which is crazy for the most used restricted Pokemon by more than double on day 1. Maybe not more than double. Was it more than double? Day 1. Okay, not more than double. But actually not really almost double either. But by a lot more. Okay, so it's not double, but it's a lot more. So to keep. You can see only one Lunala, which also very much underperformed. I think that you need to be able to justify using a Lunala over a Calyrex Shadow Rider because Calyrex Shadow Rider is so much easier to use. If you really like Lunala, then I mean, it definitely has a place. But they're honestly, even though they have the same typing and provide strong stab ghost type damage, which is kind of what they both do, they both they do completely different things with their supporting moves. A lot of Calyrex Shadow Rider are running an Encore, so it's almost every Calyrex Shadow Rider I saw. In fact, maybe at every one of them was Protect. Let's see. So they're Protect, Astral Barrage. This one is Pollen Puff, but that is not the normal. So it's Protect, Astral Barrage. A lot of them were running Encore. And then the third move was either Psychic or Disable. So it's kind of filling this weird role where it does Ghost type damage, but not really any other kind of damage. And then has just really, really fast Encore. Like almost Prankster Encore, even though it isn't. But in some ways, it's actually better than Prankster Encore because you can Encore a Prankster Pokemon and Dark-type Pokemon where you couldn't otherwise. So, for example, if you're fighting a Tornadus and the Tornadus uses Tailwind, on the same turn the Tornadus uses Tailwind, you can Encore that Tornadus. You couldn't do that otherwise. But because you're just that fast and you're not a Prankster Pokemon, it's majorly debilitating, especially against Grimmsnarl. It's probably the best Grimmsnarl counter that I saw outside of Wheezing, because the Grimmsnarl, you lead Grimmsnarl, it uses a screen, and on the same turn, like on the first turn of the game, you Encore it, predicting it to use a screen. It uses Light Screen or whatever, and now it's locked into Light Screen, and it literally can do nothing. So I think that's part of the reason why Grimmsnarl usage actually dropped, even though I think it's one of the strongest support non-restricted Pokemon in the game right now. It dropped a lot day 2 because of this tech, of this Shadow Rider tech, and also because Wheezing did really well in this tournament. 2 top 8s, which is kind of crazy for Pokemon I wasn't even thinking about. So 2nd and 6th, it's very good. So let's go over some actual individual teams. There were 3 teams I think that I actually wanted to go over specifically. Okay, so the 3 different archetypes that I thought did really well, and I would keep an eye out for in the future. None of them have Miraidon, but I think that even though Miraidon looks really, really strong on paper, as long as you have a couple things built into your team for it, you're kind of fine. So just looking at it, this here is a Zamazenta. Calyrex. I don't know why that. It took me a minute to think of that because it's right there. Anyway, so you got this is Aaron Brox. I believe he placed. It was top 4. I don't know if it was. I mean, it doesn't matter if it was 3rd or 2nd. I think it's 3rd or 4th. I think it's the same. So technically, I guess he placed 4th, but it's the same rewards and everything. So almost basically, I said earlier, basically every Zamazenta team has Chien-Pao on it. They go so well together, it's kind of crazy. This Chien-Pao had Taunt. I think the 4th move is really, really debate. Like you can run a lot of things. In my Regulation G teams with Zamazenta, I was running a 4th Dark type move just so that I could get around Farigiraf, because Farigiraf was a major problem for my team. But Taunt definitely works, especially if you don't have another Taunt Pokemon. Taunt feels really good this set. Mungus, like I said earlier, every top 8 team had a Mungus. Raging Bolt, it's very good. It also gives you a good matchup into Sun teams because you're using their Sun to boost your Pokemon. So even if you don't have a Sun Pokemon on your team, you still can use their Sun to get stronger. Yeah, there's nothing weird about this. A little surprised to see the Dragon Pulse on this set rather than Draco Meteor. On something like a Magnet set, I would kind of expect you to try to get as much damage out of your Raging Bolt is possible because you're not boosting your physical move, like your Dragon type moves with anything really, only your Electric type moves. So I'm surprised to see this. However, I will say it seemed to work very well every time we saw this set on stream because it seemed pretty consistently like you could double up Amoonguss with Dragon Pulse +1, and it seemed to always get the KO. Yeah. Anyway, you can see this Calyrex Shadow, like it's very standard as a normal Terra type for other Calyrex Shadow. I don't know how good this is. I kind of like Dark type better because Dark type ability to resist Dark as well, and it also gives you immunity to Prankster. I think if I was to run a Calyrex Shadow Rider, I would run Dark type Terra. But there was a lot of different Terra types. Once again, you can see Psychic, just the really its Encore counters Grimmsnarl, Psychic counters Amoonguss, and it so this Pokemon is at a very good spot in the meta. It's naturally strong and also is a very good spot in the meta, and I think it's just very good. It's really the only really bad matchup it has is Amoonguss, not Amoonguss, sorry, Incineroar, because Incineroar is immune to Psychic and resists Astral Barrage, and you can you can Encore it, but like you don't really like it. Incineroar doesn't really care because you're never really clicking Fake Out into a Calyrex Shadow Rider anyway, which is when you'd want to be clicking Encore, and the Incineroar doesn't care at all if it gets Encored into Parting Shot because it doesn't matter, and it doesn't really mind getting Encored into Knockoff either because you're just threatening the Calyrex Shadow Rider so much with it. And then it brings us to the final Pokemon. Okay, also this Zimus was running Ironhead. I feel like this is just strictly worse than Heavy Slam, but you do get the flinch chance, so I guess it's not strictly worse, but I feel like you're always doing less damage, and there's only 20% flinch chance on this move. But I mean, to each his own, I guess. I mean, it's better against bulkier Pokemon, but you can one-shot a Fluttermane with even I believe even a 0 attack Zamazenta is going to be one-shotting Fluttermane the majority of the time with Heavy Slam, if not all the time. I'm not sure the calc for certain, but you basically one-shot all of them. I think they can survive, but you're never going to run to one that's trained to survive that anyway. And Ironhead, I think they survive more often, for sure. Like, I don't think this one-shot's all Fluttermane if they're trained to be a little bulkier, but it's better than the Pokemon that aren't Fluttermane, obviously. Anyway, this was the surprising thing to me, and I think this Ting Lu really shows how inflexible this Zamazenta Shadow Rider core is. Basically, it's Zamazenta is Shadow Rider, and then it's almost always Qianpao. And the other three Pokemon feel really, really flexible. Like a lot of them are running Amoonguss Raging Bolt, but I think that's honestly just because they're the two of the most powerful non-restricted Pokemon, hands down. Like they just are, and I mean they're just that strong that like you just have a team of really strong Pokemon. But they're the slots are all very flexible, and especially this sixth slot, the core of Zamazenta, Amoonguss, Calyrex, Shadow, Qianpao, and Raging Bolt is very strong, and it doesn't really lack anything in terms of resistances. This Ting Lu really impressed. Like we saw Aaron Brock several times on stream, and it's Ting Lu. First of all, Ting Lu was never something I brought Ting Lu to Portland Regionals in 2022. No, 2023. Sorry, and it was trash. Like, that's all I can really say. It was really bad. Like to be fair, like it was the first regionals I've ever been to. It's actually the only it's the first regional I've ever been to. So it was really, really bad. Like it was so bad. It was actually anyway. This set is definitely better. The Assault Vest with Stone Edge, I don't think ever was clicked a single time. I'm assuming this is like probably for opposing Qianpao, if I had to guess. Because Qianpao, but I'm not even sure. Like it's a coverage move, but I don't know why it is there. To be honest, I don't know what you're threatening with that Stone Edge. I feel like I would rather even to have like Pointed Rocks move. I can't even think of it right now, but Stealth Rocks. Like I feel like I'd almost rather have Stealth Rocks than Stone Edge. I don't think Stone Edge was really doing anything on this set, But I think Sand Tomb, Ruination, Snarl were just that good because you just Ruination it for half its health, you Sand Tomb it, it can't switch out and starts taking damage, and then you Snarl any of the many Calyrex Shadow Rider. It looked really good every time we saw it. Like this Pokemon really surprised me. I wouldn't be surprised to see the usage go up, but I also think that Pokemon like this that are really bulky and do a little bit of damage at a time are also not popular. As in, people don't enjoy using them. So I'd be surprised to see the usage go up that much. But I think this is going to go from a not ever seen Pokemon, like what is this doing here, to like an okay, I see it every once in a while on certain teams, but not very. But I think it's not going to go up very much. Anyway, this seems like a very solid team. It seems like pretty much Zamazenta Calyrex Shadow Rider. It's just so solid. It's super solid. I don't know if there's a single like strictly bad matchup it has. It's just really good. Next, we're going to be going over Zay's. Bro, I can't do these Asian names. Like, I can't pronounce them at all. Don't get me wrong. Like, I want to say, I think it's Zay, Zhay Zhangs. Anyway, I really do like this guy. So I'm definitely a fan of the Pokemon he plays, and also every time I see an interview with him, I really like. He seems like a humble dude. Really like this guy. I like the teams he makes. Sorry, I can't pronounce your name that well. Anyway, this team had basically 3 top 8s, which is very impressive. I think it was 3. They're not the exact same team, but it's Calyrex Shadow, or maybe 2. Well, 2. So there were 2 basically. I would say that Justin Wan and Jay's and why is it backwards here? I don't get it. Jay's team were both very similar in what they're trying to do, even though 2 of the Pokemon are different. They're very similar. So we're just going to go over Jay's team because he got second. Spoilers. So once again, this is the Rootmon I talked about earlier with Defense Booster. It just absolutely tanks physical hits like a ridiculous amount. Even super effective physical attacks, it just tanks. You can see so the biggest thing to talk about are the Wheezing, and then the it's just Wheezing. Honestly, Wheezing has never been a popular Pokemon just because it's so hard to use. Like, I've never made a list of top 10 hardest Pokemon to use in VGC. I probably should. It'd be kind of a good video, I think. Comment below if you'd like to see that video, and like the video or whatever. I don't know. But it's super hard to use just because you want your abilities. Like, abilities are super important Pokemon, and just having them not exist is like a major thing to have to play around because it hurts you and it hurts them. Because Weezing basically, like, yeah. Okay, anyway. So Koraidon with Ability Shield, we saw this several times. It was actually, like, surprisingly popular, I would say. And it makes a lot of sense because you're setting up the sun, and then once you have the sun, you always set up the sun when it switches in, even if you have Weezing out. And then once you have the sun set up, like, does Chiyu miss having its Speeds of Ruin ability? Yes, it does. But it's still being boosted by this. Its fire moves are still being boosted by the sun. And does Walking Wake miss having its Photosynthesis ability? Yes, it does. But its Hydro Steam is still getting boosted in the sun. And does Root Bonnet miss having its Photosynthesis ability? Yes, it does. But it doesn't really change the fact that you can still put him to sleep and put in Rage Powder him and Sucker Punch him. Like, it doesn't change that much. And I think that's kind of the theme about, and also Calyrex Shadow Rider's ability just doesn't get turned off by Weezing. I'm not completely sure why. It doesn't make much sense to me, but yeah. So it's just a team of Pokemon that don't really mind having their ability turned off that much, and it just kind of completely debilitates other teams' ability to do stuff. The problem is that every time I feel like I saw Weezing out, it just looked super useless, like crazy useless. Uh, I'm not. I don't think I've ever even seen this move Poison Gas before. Uh, and it seems like it missed all the time. Okay, so it's a 90% accuracy move that poisons uh both your opponent's Pokemon. It's like I don't. There's no way this movie's good. I'm just going to say it. Like, there's got to be better moves on this thing. Taunt is good just because it lets you get around. Lets you stop Trick Room, and every single Pokemon on this team doesn't want to be in Trick Room, except for maybe a Brute Bonnet, but still doesn't really want to be. Actually, Brute Bonnet would like to be in Trick Room, but nothing else wants to be. So Taunt is to stop Trick Room and Play Rough. Just to honestly hit opposing Koraidon, I think, it, because Weezing isn't doing any damage, but at least it's threatening some Pokemon if it has like super effective. Uh, I mean, I don't know. Like Weezing, so Weezing has proved that it's a very good Pokemon, but it's super hard to use, and also its ability is very good. Its typing is okay. Like Poison, it's either Poison by itself or Poison Fairy, and neither are that good. Like Poison is okay, is like not a bad defensive type, but it kind of doesn't do anything at all offensively. And Poison Fairy is definitely a worse defensive type than just Poison, but it hits more stuff. But it's better offensively. But it doesn't really like matter that much because it's Weezing's offenses are so bad and it's so slow. It's like I don't even know Weezing stats off the top of my head. Like I would if I popped up and if I went to this tournament and I just started seeing Weezing, I would be like, oh no, like I don't even know what to do against this thing. Like so, like look, so its defense is good, its attack is like good, and everything else is trash. And then you look at like this, and is this the exact same? Huh, that's interesting. Is this the only like is Weezing the only regional form that they didn't change the stats at all? Like I feel like everyone the stats are exactly the same. I was also not aware that Weezing got Misty Surge. That's interesting. Is that really? Hmm. I wonder if there's ever a place for Misty Surge Weezing. I feel like there probably is with all the surges running around. There 100% is. But even like, would you rather? It's hard to utilize Misty Surge though. It's much harder than the rest of the surges or terrains. I mean. Anyway, so this team, without a doubt, is good. Like without a doubt, like basically two top eights is in one tournament. When this team was, I was not aware of this team even existing. Is like is major. And maybe I'm under a rock, but like I would never have been prepared for this going into this tournament. And however, even though this is very good, this is a team that is absolutely not going to become popular. And if it does, then it's going to have horrible results just because of how hard it is to use. This is a very, very high skill ceiling team, like one of the highest I've seen, maybe ever, honestly. With like, because there's so much anti synergy on this team. Like everything like works well together, but it feels like if you get mispositioned, like you just lose immediately because of how like imagine like your last Pokemon are Chi-Yu and Weezing. Like you literally would want your Weezing dead rather than have both Chi-Yu and Weezing like alive at the same time. It feels really bad. Uh, let's say you have Walking Wake and if the sun is up, but you're slower, so you click Aqua Jet, but the sun is up, so you do half damage and you like barely miss a KO. Like that's like that would feel horrible. You like it's so and you have this spooky plate Shadow Rider who does a ton of damage, but missing the like just taking a single super effective like dark or ghost type move, you're just done for because you're so like this is the only I think this is the only Shadow Rider we saw that I even like saw on all the team sheets that wasn't running Focus Sash. So this team is extremely high skill level. Like I would really hesitate to touch this team with a 10-foot pole. Like it looks so intimidating to use. And obviously it's good, but you need to have a lot of practice on this team. Like a lot of practice on this team to get it to work. Yeah. I mean, so like credit to Jay for this team. This team is very impressive, but I would, yeah, yeah. Very impressive team. Not a team I don't think I ever want to be using, to be quite honest. But if this looks like a super intriguing team to you, then definitely go for it because without a doubt it is very strong. I think you could take this exact 6 Pokemon to NAIC and perform well there because it's just that solid of a team. Like I don't think you'd even have to make a change. People are going to be aware of this team, but I don't even know if you have to make a change. Uh, anyway, also I also wouldn't really be prepared for this. Like going into NIC, I would not worry about this team. Like there's going to be some of it running around, but it's I don't think you're going to be seeing very much of it. I might be aware of it, but I wouldn't really worry about it, no matter what your team is. Even if your team loves their abilities and hates having them turned off, I don't think I'd be worried about it. Okay. So next we have Gavin Michaels' winning team. So right off the bat, it's a Kyogre. This thing, people were not prepared for this thing to win a tournament. I've always thought this thing was pretty good. Like, I know that this is probably the first video I've even talked about Kyogre, so like you're probably just going to call me out and say like, no, you didn't. Like, where's the proof? And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have any proof. But like this thing, like in no world is a water spout drizzle Pokemon going to be bad, especially with the stats Kyogre has. It's just it's not, like yeah, it's not. The what I am really surprised though is every time I've ever played or seen Kyogre, maybe not seen Kyogre, but every time I've ever even wanted to use Kyogre, I always have a coverage move. It's either always like Thunder or Ice Beam, and like it's always Thunder or Ice Beam. And the fact that this Pokemon, this Kyogre has Water Spout, Origin Pulse, Hydro Pump is like kind of crazy to me. Also, and so here's the thing about Hydro Pump. I honestly feel like you kind of like if you're looking to build a Kyogre team, you kind of have to have Hydro Pump on your Kyogre because it's really the only source of like single target water damage, water type move you have. And if you don't have this, then Zamazenta rolls you. Like Zamazenta absolutely rolls Kyogre teams unless they have Hydro Pump. When I was playing Zamazenta, it was like, okay, you don't have Hydro Pump, I just immediately win. And it was like if you do have Hydro Pump, I kind of just immediately lost. Because I don't know the exact calculations, but Hydro Pump does a ridiculous amount to Zamazenta. And it obviously depends on how both Kyogre and Zamazenta are trained. But like I've had Terra Water Hydro Pump just to one shot my Zamazenta before from a Kyogre. It's disgusting actually. So yeah, if you're running the Kyogre team, I would 100% recommend running Hydro Pump. I think it's almost required. In fact, I don't even know what move you drop because not running Water Spout feels like an int because it's your only 100% accurate move, and it also is your highest damage move if you're at full health. So it feels really bad to not run Water Spout. You kind of have to have Hydro Pump. You like Origin Pulse is just such a strong move. Like even though it misses, it's super strong. So it kind of feels bad to not be running Origin Pulse. But it's your strongest strongest source of spread damage if you're not full health. And then having a restricted Pokemon without Protect is just bad. Like unless you're running like a choice move, all of your restricted Pokemon basically need Protect. Like they really really do. I've seen some like Lunala not run Protect. That's like the only one that I'm even going to say is okay because of Lunala's ability to just kind of like allow it to be safe because of its ability. But you really, really need Protect. Like you really, really do. Um. Anyway, so first of all, Basket Legion getting a regional win. I think it's its first regional win. I don't think it's had one. And getting one in Regulation I was not something that was on my bingo card. I didn't actually make a bingo card, but it's a saying. You know what I mean? And anyway, so how does this Kyogre team work? Because everywhere you look in this tournament is Miraidon, except for it's doing any well at all. So, so anyway, sorry. So if you only have water type damage on this Kyogre, then what are you doing against all of the all the Koraidon, all the Miraidon, like all these like things that resist it? Well, there's a ton of dragon types going around right now between Raging Bolt, between Rhydon, between Koraidon, and they're all weak to ice. So this, without a doubt, is the best Kyogre team that I think I've seen for. Well, this combo is the best Kyogre. In my opinion, this combo is probably the best way that Ice Rider that a Kyogre can be used. Just because, I mean, it's just really strong. Like, your type coverage is so good. Ice Water is super good coverage, and then, I mean, it just really is. And the fact that Calyrex also gives you speed control, so you have crazy amount of damage from Kyogre, and everything that basically, like, Grass and Dragon both resist, both resist water, but they're both weak to ice. And the only other water resist in the game is water itself. But like, you don't even really care about fighting water types because you are water types and you're the most powerful water type. So the only water type you even care about fighting is another Kyogre. But the other Kyogres probably are just running the same team you are, so it's not even bad. Like this combo just feels like there is no hard counter to this combo, and I think that's really like important. And let me just say, this team is going to be absolutely everywhere heading into NAIC. Like there's not a doubt in my mind that this team is going to be everywhere. It's going to be played at NAIC, and it is honestly might be. I think it's either this or Zamazenta Shadow Rider. Like these are the two teams to beat right now. Yeah, they are. Also, what's really surprising to me is I feel like when like the natural instinct that I have when building a like dual restricted teams, is I want a lot of coverage, and there's only two types that even have offense on this team. You have water from like your restricted. You have water and you have ice, and that's it. Because you're not even running a coverage move on this Calyrex because you have Leech Seed. So you have two restricted Pokemon that are both hitting for one type, which sounds super unintuitive, but they're just so good together, and they're both so bulky that they can survive a lot of hits. And it doesn't really matter if you're not taking super effective, because you're just not. Because even if you're hitting them for super effective, it doesn't really feel like it because they're so bulky. And because you can just train these Pokemon to be super bulky because you don't even care about speed on half your team. I mean, once again, it's the ever present Among Us. So, like, that's not surprising. It's the exact same set that is kind of the only set that even exists. You have this Grimmsnarl. I mean, so this is what I was talking about earlier when I said that Grimmsnarl can run like a lot of different things. You have Spirit Break and you have Sucker Punch. So it might seem like, why would you have two attacking moves on a support Pokemon? But with Sucker Punch, you're super threatening to Shadow Rider, and to a lesser extent also Lunala, but mostly you're worried about Shadow Rider. And then with Spirit Break, you're also like super good into Koraidon. So you're hitting two different restricted Pokemon, both of which are prevalent in the meta, for 4 times super effective with one Pokemon, and both of your attacks that you're using are stab. Like, that's pretty major, and you still have two of the best supporting moves in the game with Reflect Light Screen. So that's what I'm talking about when I say Grimmsnarl is just super, super flexible. Yeah, this is Amoonguss. I mean, not Amoonguss. I don't know why I said Amoonguss. Amoonguss right here. I'm talking about Fluttermane. This is a very interesting Fluttermane to me. First of all, every time I use Focus Sash, I want to be running Protect, because when someone sees a Focus Sash, they know they can't one-shot you, so their automatic instinct is just to double into it. But if you have Protect, but if you're baiting double protects with if you're baiting double attacks with Focus Sash, then running Protect can just have super high value because you're basically negating the turn for them and just giving your partner Pokemon a free move. So every time I use Focus Sash, I want to be running Protect. But I guess he just felt he didn't have space on his team for it. I mean, he's Moonblast, Shadow Ball, Icy Wind, Taunt. I would be really like if I was making this team, I'd be really, really tempted to drop Icy Wind or Taunt for Protect. Like really, really tempted. But I mean, obviously it worked. He won the tournament, but I will say honestly, I think this Fluttermane seems really out of place. I'm just going to say that I don't know if I ever even saw him bring it. He probably did at some point during the tournament, but I don't remember if he even saw him bring it on stream. This seems like the most questionable Pokemon on the team to me. Is like, is this really like optimal? I kind of think it isn't. I think that after this tournament, there's going to be a new team emerging, and it's going to be it's going to be Grimmsnarl, Amoonguss, Kyogre, Calyrex, and I think a lot of teams are going to be dropping Fluttermane, Basculegion. Like a lot of teams are. Anyway, moving on to Basculegion, which it's just honestly shocking in my opinion that I got a tournament win in Regulation I. I was kind of like maybe expecting a tournament win in Regulation H, but absolutely not in Regulation I. It's Protect, Aqua Jet, Wave Crash, Lost Respects. What's most shocking to me is you already have a Kyogre that you're bringing basically every game, and it literally only has Water type moves. And here you have a Basculegion with 2 Water type moves and a Ghost type move that only works if your Pokemon have already been knocked out. Like, huh? Like, is Water type just this strong in this meta? I guess it is because that's crazy to me. Like, this is crazy to me. And don't be wrong, like Basculin has always been one of my favorite Pokemon. And when you combine that and like giving it an evolution, I think was amazing. Like I love that. But I'm honestly shocked. Like looking at this, like so here's the thing. Looking at Jay's team, it just looks like a high caliber team. It just looks like it is. And looking at Aaron's team, it just looks like a high caliber team. Like if you show me these teams, you show me like these 3 teams and said one of these teams has won a tournament, I would never say this team. Like literally never see this team because so much of it looks out of place. Like these teams look like well-rounded and like super threatening, and this team just looks like whatever. And I don't know if this is maybe this team is just not how like my style of how to play, but I don't think I have like a specific style. Like I think my style of play is kind of just average. Like I don't really. I mean, I think I just play I'm not like a crazy good like VGC player, but I'm also not like that bad. But just looking at this team, just I do not understand how this is even supposed to work almost. And yet it won a tournament. It's very it's just surprising. I'll just say that. Um, you know what I really wonder is how much if Life Orb Basculegion's Last Respects at 50 base power does it? K okay. Damage calculator. Yeah, I need to know this because this would answer I feel like a lot about this team. Uh, um, Last Respects. Um, Life Orb. 'Cause I think I would expect Last Respects. Um, I would expect Last Respects Choice Band. I think the KO, but I'm not sure about Last Respects Life Orb. Let's see. Obviously, we don't know what how they're training. Um, plus speed, plus speed. I'm assuming he probably has enough speed to like just outspeed doubles rain. Um, Focus Sash. If you change this to plus attack to an adamant, you still outspeed in rain? Yes, you do. By a lot too. What the heck? Okay. Um. Anyway, okay. This is a 50 base power, right? Okay, it always one shots, but you always also get one shot, like without fail. So this isn't even really a counter. Because like I was thinking like maybe like so like I was like maybe if this one shots then you can uh just do it, but I didn't really think about like almost every Calyrex Shadow Rider is Focus Sash variety. So it doesn't even really work. Because sure you can like last respects and outspeed in the rain and like get them down to Focus Sash, but they're just going to KO you back. Like unless you're like specifically trained to survive an Astral Barrage. But I think you have to have so much special defense. Okay, let's well, like there's no way. Like I refuse to believe his. You have to be 250. Yeah, okay. So basically, if you want to survive a standard Calyrex Astral Barrage, then you have to be 252 HP and 180 and 164 special defense. Like it's just not reasonable. Like there's no like you cannot train yourself enough for that. And then but this would be a good counter to Calyrex, but it's just not reasonable because I guess you just yeah it doesn't work. Okay, so basically it's impossible to train. It's basically impossible to train yourself. I think to really do this very well. Yeah, it doesn't work because I was thinking like maybe you. I mean, I guess it would work. Huh. Let's change it off adamant. Let's change it to plus special defense minus. For what is that nature? I don't ever run plus special like plus special defense minus a special attack. I cannot think of that. Oh, there it is. Careful. So even zero attack. Okay, so I guess this like would work as a counter, but I would just. So this actually would like somehow this Basque Legion set would work as a counter to Calyrex Shadow Rider, because what you would do is you would outspeed in the rain, you would hit him with the last respects, you would take him down to Focus Sash, you would survive the return Astral Barrage, and then you would just click uh, Aqua Jet. You wouldn't even have to click Aqua Jet actually. Yeah, and then you just attack him again and you would win because you always like survive. But I would just never want to do this. Like this just looks so bad. Like this looks like a horrible, horrible set. Which means that I really feel like it's probably. I don't know how he. Okay, so in reality, I have no idea how Gavin trained his Basque Legion, but I just don't know what it's even doing. Like because you could never really use Basque Legion without Kyogre because you can't set the rain and you can't activate Swift without Kyogre. But you're just doubling up on your water damage by so much. Like you don't have a single move on this team that hits opposing water types at all. So like opposing water types resist. So an opposing Kyogre would resist your Kyogre, resist your Calyrex, resist most of your Basque Legion. Your Mungus isn't doing any damage. Your Grimmsnarl is probably doing like 0 damage to it too, and just getting outsped and getting hit really hard. Your Fluttermane is the only thing that actually does any damage into opposing water types. But it's a Focus Sash variety. Like it doesn't. It's not. And without and no way to activate its Photosynthesis. It's not that strong. Like I don't. I actually don't get it. I don't know. I actually don't understand this team. Like maybe he talked about it somewhere more, I don't think he really even talked about it in their interviews though, at all. He kind of just said, "I'm the best Reigns player in the world," and I'm like, I mean, maybe I believe him at this point because I don't understand how this team even works. Okay, well, I understand how it works. Okay, so basically, anyway, final takeaway: Calyrex, Kyogre, Amoonguss, Grimmsnarl is an absolutely disgusting 4 Pokemon. It's super solid. I don't know if there's really anything that even breaks through this. It's like every single one of your Pokemon is super bulky, and you just threaten huge damage that's basically impossible to resist unless you're specifically a water type. And then I don't know what Basculegion and Flutterman are doing in this team. So Calyrex, Kyogre, Amoonguss, Grimmsnarl are like the core of this team. And then I would take off Fluttermane, take off Basculegion, and add some other Pokemon to it because I think that'd be a better team. And I don't know how it wouldn't be a better team. I think it just would be a better team. You know what? Okay, guys. My next video on this channel is going to be... I'm going to bookmark this. Bookmarks. Yeah, whatever. Gavin. Whatever. Done. My next video on this channel is just going to be me trying to rebuild this team because this team looks like crazy solid. But these 4 Pokemon look crazy solid, but then the other 2 Pokemon just look like they don't even belong. Anyway, so that's my meta take on this. So basically, Amoonguss, very, very, very strong in the meta. Amoonguss usage is going to spike in Safety Goggles, Incineroar, and Safety... This is my prediction. Amoonguss usage spiking is going to spike Safety Goggles, Incineroar, and also Safety Goggles, Urshifu, which is like whatever. So I think you're going to see a lot of Amoonguss, Incineroar, Urshifu, and also just Rillaboom. But I guess that doesn't really change anything. It's kind of just the same 4 supporting Pokemon we've always had. I mean, I know that's actually really solid. Like, all you have to do... Showdown. Team Builder. Like, all you have to do to have a competitive team is just Rillaboom, Incineroar, Urshifu, and then you would literally just take this Water Grass Core and you just add 2 restricted Pokemon to it that work well together, and just in like a 5th. And honestly, maybe it's just a Mungus, and then you just add a 6th. Like, I don't know. Like, these are by far the strongest supporting. Like, actually, wait. Also, actually, I'm gonna add Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl. Okay, so I'm trying to think of like what are the strongest support Pokemon in the meta at this moment. Let's just check it out. Also, this is another thing I was going to talk about. I kind of forgot to talk about it. Groudon is like, I don't know, like, Groudon didn't top 8, but I believe it placed 9th and 10th. Which for Pokemon that, yeah, 9th and 10th. Which for a Pokemon that, like, didn't have any usage is, like, honestly surprising. But it's not that surprising because it didn't top 8, to be fair, but like, Groudon, honestly, I think that Groudon is underplayed. Because Groudon is so good in Miraidon. Anyway, okay, so final thoughts. Okay, so it's not going to let me open it. Whatever. So final thoughts. Rillaboom, Incineroar, Urshifu, Amoonguss, and Grimmsnarl, and then I guess also probably Raging Bolt just look like by far and above the 6 strongest non-restricted Pokemon in the meta, and it looks not close. it like it looks actually not close. Like these just look like the six strongest non-restricteds, and it doesn't even look close. Like I don't even know what number 7 is. Maybe like Fluttermane or something. But these look just far and away by far the best. I think like 3 or 4 of these plus 2 restricteds is already a solid team. And then in terms of what are we going to see from, and then so those are the 6 strongest non-restricteds without a doubt. And what are we going to see in the coming weeks and also at NAIC in terms of not of restricteds? Okay, so I think we're going to see a lot of Zamazenta Shadow. It's super flexible, and it just has no clear weaknesses. This team is just pretty good. I think a pretty decent into like literally every like restricted combination. I don't think there's a bad. I don't think it has a bad matchup. I think you're going to see a lot of the top players pull this out because top players tend to gravitate toward teams that don't have bad matchups, and they just rely on solid teams, and then they just have solid teams and then rely on playing well. So I think we're going to see a lot of this at the top end. I think there's going to be some of this of Koraidon Calyrex Shadow, but I don't think there's going to be that much. I think we're going to see a lot of Calyrex Ice and Kyogre. I think we're going to see a lot of that. And then what else? So those would be the 3 I would be like keep my eyes out the most for. This team was also very interesting to me. I saw someone call it Tarapa Ghost, and and we watched it on stream, and looked really honestly like a lot of fun to play. Uh, just a bunch of very bulky Pokemon capable of healing each other, and Tarapa Ghost to set up and do damage. It just looks like it looks like a cool team. Looks like fun to play. I would not be surprised to see some of this, but I think people tend to gravitate away from more bulky teams and more toward more offensive teams. So I don't think we're going to see as much of this. And I think that even though Miraidon definitely underperformed, I do not think it's bad. I think that Miraidon Calyrex Ice is still going to be played, like without a doubt in my mind. So top 6 supporting Pokemon. For top 6 supporting Pokemon, we got Rillaboom, Incineroar, Urshifu, Rapid Strike, Amoonguss, Grimmsnarl, and Raging Bolt as the best non-restricteds, and the ones that you want to keep an eye out for on your team at a most basic level. Like these are the Pokemon you're going to need to be aware of heading into an AIC. And in terms of restricteds, Calyrex Ice plus Kyogre, Calyrex Shadow plus Zamazenta, Calyrex Shadow plus Koraidon, and then finally Calyrex Ice plus Miraidon. I think those are going to be the 4 most common and most powerful restricted duos heading into an AIC. So thank you guys for watching. I hope this helps you in your team building. And ETH out.